Good evening. These babies do work. Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the council meeting tonight, and I want to thank the council for all being present too. I do apologize for missing last month's meeting. My father-in-law passed away, so hate not being with you guys, but sound like y'all took care of business, and I missed you guys. Huh? You turned me down? Oh yeah, it's loud. At this time, Mary's going to lead our invocation. Thank you, Mary.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for today, and thank you for everyone's here that is here, and we ask that you watch over us and give us wisdom and direction, and that we would be good stewards of what you have entrusted us to do. We ask for safe travel for everyone as they go home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I'm not sure that I did announce a quorum is present. 100%. Thank y'all. All right, so on the consent agenda, if the council has had an opportunity to review the minutes of the January 10th, 2022 meeting and the January 2022 financials, if there's any questions, and if not, we'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. It just is what it is. I can do it. It's all right. Yeah. All right. Report on items of community interest. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share from the last month or weeks?
Just thank the city for the getting the water cleaned up and fixed in a timely manner. That was kind of crazy.
Both water. Yeah, Lanny with KSA was in last week, and we caught up on some of that too. It's amazing what's not mapped. You know, to know that there's two major lines there, and one's on a map, and even the one that's there that says valves, we don't know where the valves are at. But we're going to get better, and steadily we're mapping these things out now. When we find the mysteries, Colin and the guys they're doing rock star jobs out there, keeping us running. But it is hard when you don't have something on a map. And it's not anybody's fault today. It's just back in history that things didn't necessarily get. If it was put on a map, it doesn't exist. You know, it's today we do it electronically, and KSA would have it in their computer, right? We'd have it where you can pull it up. And it's nobody to be mad at. It's just a point that we have to deal with today and get better going forward. We don't have anybody signed up for citizen participation, so we can jump right into our items to be considered. On item 2, is to consider an act upon approval of the Texas Parks and Wildlife application support letter for the Trails Grant to increase the minimum commitment to $75,000 match. I think it was $50,000 that y'all approved at the last meeting, and since then, Tina's had the opportunity to have a larger grant available to us, but we have to increase our match as well. Tina, you know the total of that?
300,000.
And prior it was
250.
yeah, 200. So this is a good opportunity to get some free money, and we have to put a little more money with it. So this would be the trail that we have are encouraging that we can put around Lake, not all of Lake Mount Vernon or Lake Mount Vernon, but the eastern shore. But we would need a motion to approve.
A motion.
Have a motion.
I second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, consider an act upon approval of resolution 22-04, I Can See You Police Grant. I think we have a little. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm not tech savvy. This year we are applying for 2 grants. One of them is the first one, number 3, which is called I Can See You. What that grant is I'm applying for through the Homeland Security, a thermal imaging unit. And what it will do is sit on top of 2 of our patrol units that work at nighttime. It will help us if we suspicious person call, people running from us. And again, it's kind of the name in itself. It's like a thermal imaging, so we can be able to see heat sensor if somebody's hiding from us. It would also help if, somebody walk away from the nursing home or, a child or anything. The county actually has some. They've had good progress with it. I do know at one given point in time, there was a deputy in an area where there's a lot of crime going on with car burglaries. And he was using his thermal image unit, the flare, and he was using it and was able to catch somebody that was hiding behind a bunch of cars. So it's actually, extra eyes for the officers at night, which is really very helpful. The amount for the grant on that one, I can see you, the amount for 2 units is $22,510. And it is a no-match grant. So that one's through the Homeland Security. And again, it's for 2 thermal imaging units. Yes, sir. No, it can be moved. So when we do switch units, it can be moved over to another car. So once it is mounted on that car, don't get me wrong, it's going to have to stay on that unit because it is kind of time consuming to be able to take it off of one unit and put it on another unit. So that's kind of why we're asking for 2. That way, there's going to be one during nighttime at all times. So. I'm hoping. It's through the Homeland Security that kind of changed up a little bit this year of what's required. So I'm hoping. This is our second time we have asked for them. We asked for them a couple of years ago, but it was through a different grant, through a JAG grant, and we did not get it there. So that's why I'm trying to go through the Homeland Security and see if we can get that. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed. We do, especially right now. The town's growing, so with the town growing, unfortunately, crime rate kind of grows with it. Car burglaries are picking up. Suspicious people. We're having people running from us now at night, and they're able to duck and hide. And a lot of times at night, there's only one officer, unfortunately. And it's kind of hard for that one officer to be able to search, an area or town by themselves without any assistance. It's hard. Yes. Big safety piece. Thank you. I appreciate that. So. Okay.
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Aye.
Thank y'all.
Of Resolution 2205, Can You Hear Me, Police Grant.
The Can You Hear Me Police Grant, I try to give it cool names for the items that I'm asking for. So on this one right here, we're actually applying through the JAG grant. So that's a criminal justice grant. And that's going to be for in-car radios. The radios we now have in our units are over 15 years old. Technology has changed. It's getting to where some of them are, electrical taping some of the pieces together, and it's getting to where it's expensive to be able to even repair what we have. When you look at something that's over 15 years old, especially electronics, you start running into a little bit of issues. You start running into it's not working well. Officers are either having to repeat themselves, dispatch is not being able to hear us. And there's times that we're in high stressful situations, we barely have time to even get one bit of the traffic out, and having to repeat ourselves. That's kind of officer safety issue that we're having out there. So, No, these are actually in the units, so it is 2-piece radios. Yeah, the new ones are actually going to be 2-piece too, so it's 2 pieces to the radio, I guess you can say. But they have to be it's called P25 encrypt. They have to be encrypted and whole 9 yards with those. So this one right here is so we're asking for 7 units to be able to go one in each unit we have, and that total is $22,977.36. No match on this grant either. Yeah, it helps communicate. So, especially when they're, like I said, over 15 years old. I mean, that's a long time for electronic. Yes, yeah. So just like right now, when we get the new units in, they do have to be taken out of the units we have and put into the new unit. So that's going to be transferred back and forth, but they have been transferred back and forth in the past as well. So. The grants have closed. It will normally probably be close to the end of the year, and then unfortunately it takes them several months, or quite a while. It will be next year. If we get the grant, it will be next year before the units will be. Right now, with this going through Enterprise, it's all being done through the Enterprise package, so I'm being able to transfer over. And so I'm not for sure the exact amount. Actually, I got the exact quote here. So the Kenwood, you're looking at, looks like the shop labor to install is $100. So you're looking close to a little over maybe $1,000 a unit. Yes. I should know by next budget year. I won't know then by June or July.
This has to happen no matter what, budget anyway, and then be happy when we get the grant, and then you've got to, you budget some surplus cash, so you're right.
Okay, and again, thank y'all so much. Y'all have helped us out a lot, especially with the new shotguns and everything. Thank y'all so much. It's all right.
Hey, how are you talking without pushing the button up there? It's really awkward. So we need a motion to approve. Can you hear me, Grant?
Motion.
Got a
I'll
motion?
second.
Second, all in favor? Thanks for your work on that, ladies.
All right, thanks y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, item 5, we're actually going to have Chairman Saxey is here tonight. Catch it real quick. We're actually going to be tabling that one until next meeting, but I'd let him give you an update. We've got a wonderful candidate in Julia Munoz, which many of us know, and she is eager to get to go into work with the EDC. So.
Thank you for allowing me to come speak. Mark Saxey, and I apologize for this being on your agenda. We've had a little bit of a miscommunication. We're going to blame on Kathy because she actually gets paid for doing all this stuff. Anyway, we didn't get a chance to have our EDC board meeting, our regularly scheduled board meeting, because our director, Mr. Sanchez, has had the China disease, and it has lasted considerably longer than most of these do, and he's been out for about 2.5 weeks. I talked to him on Monday, and it was his first day in the office for half a day, and I just talked to him before I came in here, and he's still not just right. But anyway, we like to have the director of our EDC, even though he's a consultant, and all be a party to our meetings, and so therefore we didn't have our regularly scheduled meetings. So bottom line is, Ms. Munoz at the current time is the only application that has been filled. I will strike that up to the fact that once she put her application in, that it probably scared a lot of others off, because if anybody knows Ms. Munoz, and we can talk further about this, which I hope to have pushed up to you guys after our next meeting, but she's very qualified. She's an outstanding person in our community, and I fully anticipate that our EDC board, which is going to meet next month, will have time to consider this and bring it up to city council, and it will wind up being on your offering plate next meeting. But my board has not been able to consider it just yet, so we're going to consider it and send it on, and should be good. So I apologize for it being on your agenda at this time. Miscommunication, and I won't blame it all on Kathy, even though she gets paid for this. Anyway,
No, thanks, Mark.
any questions?
We need to vote to table that. How did I just, we can just not act on it this meeting, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good? I have EDC comments at the end. I did talk to Mr. Sanchez about our deal. You want me to address it then? About our,
You could do that now, actually.
Go do that
Yeah,
now?
you can do that now while you're up.
we have a, Mr. Sanchez wanted to put, everybody did their, gosh, I hate calling this retreat, because it's not necessarily a retreat, but we'll call it retreat for practical purposes now. We had our retreat with EDC, and then City Council had their retreat, and what he wanted to do is put everybody together. Obviously, that time frame has got pushed back. He really wanted to do it a little bit sooner. Order in the court, please. Anyway, and what he wants to do is last week of February, and Brad and I talked about it, and what we think is maybe the first Monday or Tuesday of that last week for all of us to come back together, and I guess y'all can kind of discuss it amongst yourselves. I think Monday works fine with Mr. Sanchez, probably same place, same bed. Yeah,
There's not a set date. He's suggesting if it's available for everybody that month. So it won't happen that night.
I think what we're actually talking about is the 21st. On the 21st?
That'd be pretty quick. That's President's Day.
Oh,
I guess.
gosh.
Yeah. It may go into March, but either way, he's trying to find a date to get the EDC, the council, and the Industrial Foundation too, right? All three.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
So sometime over the coming few weeks, we'll run some dates back from after Martin gives us some and let everybody lock it away in their calendar.
So I guess
He got COVID right after that. He had all of this together and was down for
he's been
nearly a
down.
month.
He's been
Really sick.
down hard for 2.5 weeks. So anyway, I have a Valentine's to attend to, but I'm actually going to wind up staying if y'all don't have any further questions, because I'm really interested in the next item of tethering. So, if anybody
Okay,
has any
on
other
with the
questions.
next business, taxi.
All right. Thank you.
All right, item number 6 on our agenda is consider an act upon approval of amendment to the tethering ordinance 2022-12.
Colin Clasby, Animal Control Officer for the City of Mount Vernon. And for, I think for good demonstration purposes, we should get Saxy back up here. And he can act out the new tethering ordinance while we, I wasn't gonna say that, but I knew I'd have a volunteer. So the state, effective, I believe it was January 16th or 18th, the new state law for, was it the 18th, for ordinance 820, I'm sorry, not ordinance, state law 821, chapter 821 of the Health and Safety Code. New subchapter E came in with new guidelines and regulations of how you may legally tether your dog. Before then, there was other means and everything else. So basically what we've done is we've gone in and changed our tethering ordinance to basically match what state law says. And y'all have a copy of it. I can read it if you need me to, or however you want to proceed with that. But basically we're just adding the state law into our city ordinance.
What is the difference between what it was and what we're going to?
So basically, our city ordinance said that you couldn't tether the animal in a way to cause injury. Tethering of the animal had to be done in a way to permit it that it still had access to food, water, shelter. We had time frames in there. Basically, we said weather-wise, we had if there was a heat advisory, hurricane warning, and everything else. The new state law basically says that you may not tether your dog, and just ease of putting it, paraphrasing it, unless it's on a trolley system, a cable between two trees or two fixed objects with a rope that hangs down, and the dog must have access to food, water, and shelter. The only way that you can use a tree or a ground tether or a ground stake or something like that is if you are out there with that dog while it's on there. There are some exemptions if you're training a dog for hunting purposes, or if you're in a campground, which we don't have inside the city limits. There are certain exemptions like that that are in there, you know, that will help, you know, an individual. You can tie your dog up in the back of the truck as long as it's just there while you run into Brookshire's or wherever, something like that. But as far as tying your dog up anywhere else, any other means, if you're not there to attend the dog, it has to be done with a trolley cable system and the dog has to have access to food, water, and shelter. Then the other item in here, where is it? It says it may not have gotten. Did we forget to put that in, Kathy, where it talks about the weather? Well, we had ours. Oh, I think it's under definitions, isn't it? Yes. So the inclement weather part that's in this part, inclement weather is actually defined in the definitions, which will be the next item. So all we're doing with Ordinance 2202 is basically putting in the state law into our ordinance. And then there is, under the state law, there is a provision where repeat offenders, instead of it being a Class C misdemeanor, it will now be bumped up to a Class B misdemeanor charge.
If there's no questions on this one, I'll ask for a motion to approve. A motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 7, consider an act upon approval of ordinance 2022-03, amending definitions, section 4-01 of animal ordinance.
All right, and this is just definitions we're adding into our current vocabulary that we have. Adequate shelter is a sturdy structure that provides dog protection from inclement weather, and with dimensions that allow the dog to stand erect, sit, turn around, and lie down in a normal position. It defines a collar, which we have not had in our definitions before. It also defines a harness, and then here's where the inclement weather comes in. And then properly fitted is added in, basically talking about how that collar or harness needs to be attached to the dog while the dog, you know, is wearing it. And then it defines restraint as basically any object. I mean, it does spell it out, but any object used to restrain an animal. So we're just adding those definitions into our vocabulary there.
I've got several things I'm going to talk to Stephanie about, how she takes care of Molly when we get home. So we'd look for a motion to approve.
I so move.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Item 8, consider an act upon approval of resolution 22-06, calling the May 7, 2022 election. And on this, I know all the council, including myself, has pulled their packets and turned them back in, all back in. So I wanted to say thank you for your service, and thank you for being willing to serve another term too. Yep. Yep. thanks for being willing to serve again, though. So we would need a motion to call the election. Kind of motion?
Second.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Item 9, consider and approve KSA Task Order 100551, American Rescue Plan Act for the wastewater plant improvements. Lanny, thanks for being here again this evening.
Should bring donuts. Thank you once again, Council, for letting me be here. Lanny Buck with KSA. What you got in front of you is a task order for associated with the money that came through the AARP program, and it is to replace the. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. It is. Okay. It is to replace the lift stations at the wastewater plant, and a couple of purposes for it. Those lift stations are at the end of their useful life. They've had parts replaced several times, but this will allow us to also design for a future capacity for the lift stations as well. So it kind of ties into our overall goal to upsize the wastewater plant based on what we're seeing with growth within the city. So, yep, the dog houses. Okay. And we've also got rerouting some 8-inch pipe in this one with a sludge flow meter. That's essentially to help with your ammonia, so we're routing that return activated sludge back to the head of the plant so we get more treatment in it to try to take care of some of the ammonia issues that we've been having out of the plant as well.
So these are items that we've worked on for several months, and as we got, the cost for each one of them, Laney and several of his colleagues actually have said here on several occasions that we've said, okay, we got some money, to work where we get the most bang for our buck. So these are taking a step towards, like you said, improving the volume we can handle down at the plant, and obviously there's a lot more we need to do, but this is taking a nice step forward to maybe mitigate some of the fines that we've incurred from TCEQ. Yeah,
Right.
That's exactly.
Yeah, something like that. And we've applied for a supplemental environmental project to rehab some manholes for that, and we just haven't heard back from the state on whether they've accepted that or not yet, to try to offset the cost where we actually get some benefit out of the fine.
We're actually anticipating there's probably an additional fine that may be coming from last year, right? And there was a window that we may have got out of sorts. So.
We're still self-employed on that, correct?
Yes, we self-report. Yeah.
We are definitely taking steps to address those. So that's the main thing is like let's start making some improvements now with this money that we do have, and then knowing that we're going to find a way to finance some of the bigger stuff. We're not sitting to wait. Let's make some movement now.
This is a help.
What is the timeline on this project?
So this project would be, yeah, every time I ballpark, I get in trouble. It is. It's the page in front of the cost.
So that will
So
that
it's-
allow us
so
to
it's back
get
up.
at least
No,
one
go down,
complete?
go down. Right there. So there's the schedule that we've documented right now. So basically it takes a year, but it'll take, the first 120 days, if you will, until we get bids, and 140 days, I guess, then we start construction after that. Right. And as Tina said, if I understood right, I may have missed, but, we've got half the money now, we'll get half the money later, hopefully around August to do that. So this all should tie in about together when we get the money. Because the rest, what's coming left, will be part of construction, not part of engineering.
no other questions, let's call for a motion to.
No, so, no, here's the way, right. So as consulting engineers, we have time that we built in to where we go out and work to get jobs. If we don't go out and do this, then we don't know the jobs are out there and we don't get them. So this is just part of doing business. So the answer to your question is no. I'll be glad to get an hourly service for you to show up if you would like that. No, I volunteer. Yeah, I'm actually right down the road, so it's kind of a short step for me. But no, that's the reason we do that. And of course, we've got an interest in the town. I certainly have an interest in the town. So.
No further questions, we'll call for a motion.
I'll call for a motion. Pass.
Got a motion?
I second.
A second? All in favor? Aye. Item number 10 is consider and act upon approval of KSA Task Order 100504 for Highway 37 elevated storage tank rehabilitation. And I'll just kind of tee this one up. Y'all know the water tower by the jail, and it is 10 years behind having its work done.
It is at least that far behind
At
having its
least.
work done. And the inspection reports have shown that it needs to be recoated and some repairs made. So this is a matter of getting that up to where we can do that. We did the same thing to the tank over here by the post office 15 years ago, Tina. You know the date? It's 20, 12. So somewhere around 12 years ago, we did the same thing. The coatings, back at the time, they were saying 10 to 15 years. They're lasted about 20 now. The coatings we put on there have more of a shine. You can kind of see this one's held up much better than they did previously. So the technology's changed a lot to help those tanks. So it's just time to get this one back in shape so it lasts a lot longer, so it doesn't give you failure and have more problems.
So again, it's at least 10 years past this work needing to be done.
Sure.
So I know you'll hear me highlighting this at every meeting. It's not anybody's fault, but we're well over 10 years and maybe 15. It's well past this work needing to be done. And we just went to an event last week, not related. But, you saw the system go down. We lost all the water in the towers, lost all the water in the whole system. There weren't valves to shut it off. You just got to wait till it finish draining and fix the pipe. Well, this is a different scenario, but if we lose that tank, you're going to lose a lot of pressure on the system. Storage and emergency, I don't know what you lose from the
Sure.
elevated storage, but this is a big deal.
Well, and during this period of time, we'll have to operate on one tank, and with maybe some booster pump help too. But you'll be able to see that tank does help you. And of
Okay.
course, we'll want to do this work, even though we start now. We won't want to do this work until probably September, because that's September, October, because that's when the cooler months, less water usage goes into effect.
So we met last week. Landy thinks that we can get this into this calendar year if we're acting now and putting the plan in place.
Sure. So I talked to Brittany. She had $400,000 budgeted for everything, but that was for everything. So my 300, so it's 300 plus the engineering.
With the repairs that we done before you think they did everything, like, I never like to talk about this, there was some welds that we done.
So when we get up there, we blast it just like anything else. We sandblast it, and when we identify pits or holes or whatever it is, then we put an allowance into the bid for so much weight in steel, and then we repair that steel. Is how it works. Yeah.
$400 large.
It was 250 10 years ago. Are there any other questions?
Rebecca?
Didn't we talk about this when we were doing budgeting?
We did. We didn't put it into the budget to do this tank.
Just talk, okay, because it was still in process of trying to find out the dollar amount.
Yeah, and we were running a significant deficit budget. If we all remember, it was about $500,000 that we were finally able to
We were,
bring to neutral with the water rate increase, unfortunately.
yeah,
But how do you fix your water tank? You know, you gotta make money selling water, and unfortunately, we still don't today even. It's about a break even to make water, so it's hard. It is hard.
Mm-hmm. Right, we bless the, we do the pipe as well, and those, we can replace the whole pipe if we have to, so it's not like it's impossible, but yes, we'll look at it when we're blasting. Right.
$400,000 total for the two? Or one?
I was perusing the EDC balance. It seems like there's some cash over there that Chairman Saxe might could, Lanny, thank you. It is expensive. It's something I want to highlight. This thing it may be 15 years overdue. We do have a serious issue, and if you lose a water tower, what's it take to build a new water tower? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, you get to the point that it's past maintenance to major repair. You're talking much bigger money than 400,000, as much as that is, right?
Well, I think you got a point to the fact as well that this one right here is 10 years old, so we continue to look at it over.
Right, and that is very possible. And to answer your question, as you can imagine, it's not just the cost of building a new tower. You've got to take the old one down if it's truly a structural concern, and that's not cheap either. So that's probably, yeah, I know. So that one's probably $700,000, something like that, 7 or 8, and then you got to maintain it too once you get a new one. So. Sure. When we're blasting, we're looking at everything. We're looking for pits. We're looking for cracks, anything that we can find when we do that. And that's one of the reasons we blast it down to bare metal, is so we can actually see what condition it truly is in. Right, they're looking at that when they inspect every year. So if you have crack, like in the structure in the legs, if you have a crack in one of the legs, they're going to find that, because it'll crack the paint as well. But what we're seeing is we'll look for total pitting and holes and things like that as well as cracks.
Any other questions? I am hoping that this is one that we'll push through as well. I think it's just very important that we get this done. And again, it's just part of a bunch of aging infrastructure that we kicked the can down the road for too long. But it's one of those items we really can't neglect anymore. So we do need a motion to approve.
I so move.
We have a motion from Sherilyn,
I'll second.
and a second from Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. All right, discussion items. I'll turn it over to Tina.
Okay. Our food and wine, not food, sorry. It is food and wine. It's going to be April the 2nd, downtown here. Also, Lily's gonna do the hospitality, what is that called? Room. If anybody wants to bring food. Yeah, bring food. Okay. So we'll be sending out that email. Also, we're due, someone has contacted me. They're doing a coffee table book of the upper east side of Texas, small towns in the city of Mount Vernon's going to be in. I think they're out of Benton Miller, coffee table book. I'm pushing it.
Is this actually the coffee table book about coffee tables? Remember the Seinfeld episode?
Yes. Texas Parks and Wildlife application was, put out there February 1st. So we'll probably hear around May. That's too loud. Water leak, we've already discussed that. TxDOT, the speed limit on 37, I contacted TxDOT on Friday, and they said, or Thursday, whatever day. They're gonna do a study, and he said we'd hear back from, yeah, brochures in the schools and
So
all
we're
that.
looking at slowing it down or speeding it up, or what are we looking at doing?
I'll speak to it. Ricky and Sheriff Jones, when I were catching up, the guys were fixing the water line the other day, and it came up traffic, and I live on that stretch on 37, and what they're recommending is that Ricky would like to see, like, if you went on the other side of 30 to around like the lumberyard or so, if you could drop the speed limit out there to 40, like it is when you get closer to the school. That way traffic's going 40 all the way through there. Right now it's 55 or so all the way to about our house. So they go 65 and they fly down that stretch of road all the time. It's terrible. Yes. All the way out to 30.
The bridge. South of the bridge, yes.
Yeah.
There's down to Wyatt Drive.
Yes. Yeah.
It definitely needs to be one speed.
Well, it's not two weeks of speed, but there's two lanes. People realize that's a real big.
It's dangerous.
It is.
Very bad right there. Yeah.
It is a bad
It's
thing.
bad. Take the next one on signage and marketing to begin with. I reached out to Lamar Signs. I just was noticing how good Duke's signs are looking when I was driving back from Dallas the other day, and I asked Joe Zugby, I said, who's your contact? So anyway, they do not have any signs. Lamar doesn't right now, but he has us in the queue. So if they have something come up, so we can talk about potentially getting us a billboard like we're wanting to have on I-30. It's time to have a billboard again. They're not the only sign company, but that's the first one I've reached out to, just starting a conversation, say, please, talk to Mount Vernon if you have a sign coming available so we can consider it. And then the second thing is I put the fire department on, and got our new chief here tonight. So Scott, thanks for attending the meeting. Me and Scott caught up this afternoon, actually. Scott, come on up if you like. I don't know if everybody has met Chief Ragsdale before. Have y'all? Why don't you introduce yourself, maybe? Push the button. Yeah.
I'm Scott Ragsdale, the fire chief of Mount Vernon. I've been on the department for a little over 28 years, starting 29 next month. I am running for commissioner, yes.
Thanks for attending. I caught up with Scott earlier, and we spent some time together. We have a big need for volunteer firemen, right? So it's a critical need, I need to say. And then along that same line, the time of day that we have a big gap to is like 8 to 5. A lot of guys are at work. They work in Mount Pleasant, Scott works in Mount Pleasant, maybe they work in Sulphur Springs. And it's a window that, we have a major issue, a major fire or whatever, or first response. It's a lot of times there's not anybody available, or there's one available, or two. And technically, jumping on that fire truck, if one guy thankfully going to help, you're really not supposed to be going on the truck by yourself, right? You're just gonna need somebody there to get you back.
Right.
Safety number one.
That's right.
And there's also, we have to report all those calls we make. When Scott was telling me we're at like 87
87
year to date.
here today.
Last year would have been 50 something year to date.
No, last year, by the end of February, we were at 50.
By the end of February, so
Yes.
we're tracking way ahead on calls
Yes.
right now. People moving around more, maybe, coming out of COVID than they were back then. But so I want to just have a discussion out for one tonight, is highlight a few things. We need volunteers. We need all of us, encouraging friends, family. Especially if we have folks that are available during the day and within a reasonable commute to get to the fire department. I appreciate you putting out the note on the Easter Hands coming up, which is the 501c3.
Yes.
Helps raise additional funds beyond the budget that the city of Mount Vernon funds the department at. It's just the hardest part. You can have 30 volunteers, but if 25 of them are in other towns during the day,
Right.
Or on their shifts. So we have a need for volunteers. On that, we have like the EDC, Main Street, Landmark. We put in place a process where folks are coming to City Hall and saying, hey, I want to volunteer. And I want to volunteer for specifically the EDC, or in this case, the fire department. So I mentioned Chief Ragsdale. We'll go ahead and put that volunteer form here at City Hall and on the website. It's only 2 locations there. But we'll get that thing up here. So during the day, we've got staff,
Yes.
right? The fire department, I won't necessarily have anybody there during the day. So you always have a way for somebody to go, okay, on the lunch break, I'm going to go fill out the volunteer form. I want to get trained and become a volunteer fireman. So we're going to do that for one. Also, we're still pushing this button that's driving me crazy, but we've got this new audio visual equipment I'm sharing. And so we've got, I think Scott was mentioning they got a meeting coming up, and one of their volunteers will be out of state probably with work, and you can potentially Zoom in or team in. You can see the video of this meeting, and you won't necessarily be able to participate in it, but you can see it. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and bring the department's meetings in-house to City Hall here, so they've got the luxury of having audio-visual equipment, which will be, I think, will help your meetings a lot, for one, because it's another means of capturing the meeting minutes. So like Kathy with this meeting, that actually technically covers our minutes, because you've got it on recording, right? So we're going to put the assets to work and have y'all's meetings down here, and that way the public also has room to come and sit and enjoy, hearing the good things and also the challenges. Scott says, I need help. You have more people to come in and be a part of that. So just a couple of things. I want to make sure that we get the word out that we need volunteers. Let people know how to volunteer. We're going to train you. Like I said, Scott's got 28 years experience. A lot of the guys have got a lot of years experience. You don't have to come fully trained. You're a volunteer. So they'll get you there. We want y'all to be safe. You got new equipment, some things we can put in the budget, like with the CBs, the air apparatuses, make sure the guys are using them, learn how to use them. But that's it, really. I want to talk about the need for volunteers, and then always it's helping, I think, is what we're trying to say here, get y'all some more resources and utilize further some of them we have here at City Hall.
Yes, sir. Every month. 6:30
So you gotta be able to get them scheduled here, Ken.
for the last 20.
So
The third is training. We only have one meeting.
we're also gonna help, Scott with actually posting the meetings over here, so that's another thing, just using the office here to help take that burden off, so make sure your agenda's on, posted like you need it to be. There you go. Yeah. A lot of positives to it, takes a lot of burden off. Keep it separate, so.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I appreciate you coming tonight, just to let you know we got help for you, and hopefully some of this will help just with process-wise to support you guys too. Thanks, Scott. I think that's it, unless anybody has, oh, I did. Did you have anything further on EDC? Nope, that's okay. I did want to share, I was looking at our financials here this afternoon, just, and it's just a bright spot we were talking about before the meeting, but we're tracking, year-to-date through January, before I give you another number, 35% of sales tax collection. We're tracking actually ahead of budget, in other words, on our sales tax collections, and Tina just found out. Okay, so 100. And so February, we collected $100,000. So if you take that, we're sitting at about $355,000 in sales tax collection on a budget of $470. That's incredible. So maybe some of that water tower money. Yeah. 730. Yeah. 730. I'm sorry. 730. But we're tracking ahead. So maybe there's some of the money we're looking for is coming in sales tax. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong number. That's all. It's good news though. It's good to see that happen. And Mark, some of that was going into the EDC, so there's more of that EDC money we can go after. Just kidding. All right, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So motion.
Got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for everything tonight. And thanks for those that attended and participated. Appreciate it.